Let's talk about dining at Sandals South Coast. Hey everyone, it's Jenna from A Couple Travelers, and today I'm going to be talking about the 9 restaurants at Sandals South Coast. So obviously I have to do this video solo because I took my mom to Sandals South Coast with me, so Andy can't talk about the restaurants and rate the food or anything because he wasn't there on this trip, so I'm going to be doing this video alone. The first thing to explain is that at Sandals there are 2 main dress codes to consider. The first is a resort casual dress code and the other is resort evening. So the majority of restaurants at Sandals are resort casual. So this just means that your bathing suit needs to be covered. So you should have a pair of shoes on, flip-flops are fine, and you just need to be covered basically. Throw on a tank top or a t-shirt, throw on a pair of shorts or a bathing suit cover up of some sort, and you are fine. And that is the same for restaurants at night as well. Like shorts and t-shirts, flip-flops are totally appropriate as well if it is a resort casual restaurant. So you don't have to worry about dressing up for those restaurants at all. There are maybe 1 or 2 restaurants at each resort that have a resort evening dress code that is a little bit more strict. And it mainly applies to the gentleman dress code. I find that when I just wear a dress and sandals, that is fine for resort evening. And I've never had to worry about not getting into any of those restaurants. But for Andy especially, he has to make sure that he packs long pants, as you're not allowed to wear shorts. And he has to make sure he has either boat shoes or dress shoes of some sort, since you're not allowed to wear flip-flops or sandals or anything like that. You can't wear baseball hats. You need to have a collared shirt of some sort, but polos are fine. So that's just one thing to keep in mind when you're packing, is if you want to make sure you're able to go to a restaurant that is resort evening, to make sure you have jeans or dress pants or khakis, have a pair of boat shoes or dress shoes. Make sure you have a polo or a button down. Even short sleeve button downs are fine, but it's just a little bit more of an elegant dress code for a couple of restaurants. Now, before we dive into the 9 restaurants, I did want to mention that I am a travel agent that specializes in Sandals vacations. And you may not know that it is completely free to work with a travel agent. You'll pay the same price as if you go to the Sandals website and book yourself, but you might as well book your trip through somebody who goes to Sandals quite often, has a lot of great information and tips to share with you, will help you find the best deal. So if you're interested in more information or getting some no obligation quotes, I'll put my email address in the video description below. But let's get to it. I know you want to start hearing about all of the great restaurants at Sandals South Coast. Up first, we have Bayside Restaurant, which is the French restaurant at Sandals South Coast. So this particular restaurant is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Breakfast and lunch are both the typical Sandals buffet that you would expect. So for breakfast, it's your omelet stations. You can get French toast and pancakes, eggs, bacon, sausage, fruits and cereals and juices, and just your typical standard buffet. For lunch, again, it is a buffet and it changes every day. So for example, Sunday is barbecue, Monday is Caribbean, Tuesday is Asian, and you can actually see the days on the Sandals website and the Sandals mobile app, so you know what type of cuisine it is before you go to the buffet, which is great. And then for dinner, it is, as I mentioned, a French restaurant. We really enjoyed the food here. I think the best things we had were the filet de sole that my mom had for dinner and the creme brulee for dessert. Up next, we have Café de Paris, which, if you've been watching our channel, you know is one of my personal favorites. When the resort has a Café de Paris, I tend to go there at least twice a day. I like to, even if we go to a restaurant for breakfast, I tend to still like to go to Café de Paris to get an iced latte in the morning and then to get another one in the afternoon before I head back to the room to get ready for dinner and for our nighttime activities, because the coffees are excellent. They also have really good pastries, and of course the crepes are excellent. So we made sure that we went there one afternoon for a little snack and shared a crepe. It was really delicious. And one thing to note, because Cafe de Paris is open basically from like 6 a.m. to maybe 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So it's pretty much open for most of the day and night. Our bus on the last day was leaving at 6 a.m. And so we were like, you know, we had a 2-hour drive to the airport. We wanted to make sure we had something in our stomachs because we knew it was going to be a rough ride. We had a very rough experience coming to the resort a couple days prior. So we went to Cafe de Paris the night before. We got some boxes of mini cereals. We got some biscotti to bring back to the room so we could put something in our stomachs. But also when we were checking out the next morning, the person at reception who was checking us out said that he could get us some things at Cafe de Paris at 5:30 for everyone who was leaving at the 6 a.m. bus. So a nice little tip there. Next up, we have Eleanors, which is a Pan-Caribbean restaurant. Eleanors is open for both breakfast and dinner. Now, breakfast here is an a la carte menu where you sit down and order off of a menu. We did have breakfast here one morning and got eggs Benedict and some hash browns and mimosas and a fruit plate. Really standard Sandals breakfast here. It was really good. We also noticed that the breakfast menu here was very similar to Schooners, which I'll get to in a little bit. And then for dinner, Eleanors is one of the restaurants that requires advanced reservations, and it is the one restaurant that requires the resort evening dress code that I was talking about. And when we were there and checked in, we did notice that somebody walked in with shorts and they were asked to go put on full-length pants. So they do take the dress code very seriously. Of all the meals we had at the resort, I think the service here was the best, hands down. The food here was absolutely fantastic. We both got the surf and turf, but I obviously did not get the shrimp because of my allergies. The best thing we ate of our entire trip was this snapper, which was something we got to share between the two of us. And it was absolutely delicious. But then it also came with something called bammy, which we had never even heard of. And it is a Jamaican specialty. It is basically a Jamaican flatbread, but that whole dish was absolutely delicious. So if you go, I highly recommend that you try the snapper if you like fish. But Eleanor's was definitely a hit. Next up, we have Giuseppes, which is the Italian restaurant. Giuseppes is open for lunch and dinner. Now for lunch, it is just pizza, and then for dinner it is a full Italian restaurant. Now we didn't get a chance to try the pizza for lunch since we were only there a couple of days, but it looked very much like all of the other pizza that is served at the other Sandals resorts, which has always been very good, so I have no problem saying that this is probably just as tasty. We did have dinner here on our first night, and probably the best thing about this restaurant is that for appetizers, you really had two choices, and then you had the antipasti bar. Now, the antipasti bar was really, really fantastic. They had a giant spread of basically things to make your own salads. They had fresh breads. They had like giant cheese wheels. They had caprese. They had beef tenderloin. They even had like mussels and other seafoods and marinated vegetables. They really had a full spread. You could almost have an entire meal based off what was just at the antipasti bar. It was really delicious. For our main meals, I had the ragu gnocchi. My mom had the snapper and some pasta. The panna cotta and the chocolate mousse were really good for dessert. The entrees themselves were pretty good. I have to say, the Italian restaurants at Sandals are always hit or miss. Antigua and Grenada had really good Italian food. The others have just been okay in my opinion, but our server here was really excellent, and he even brought our dessert over, like balancing it on his head, which was really cute. We had a really nice time here. If this video has been helpful so far, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more Sandals content. If you want to see more of our trip to Sandals South Coast, I have a full resort tour and a tour of our room up already. And Andy and I also have a video about what's included in a Sandals vacation, our 15 best tips, how to pack for Sandals, and more, so check out our full Sandals playlist below. Up next we have Jasmine's, which is a Pan-Asian restaurant that is open for dinner. And this was our favorite restaurant that we ate at, and we happened to eat here on our last night, which was pretty much the cherry on top of our trip. And I think every single thing that we had here was delicious. We had hot and sour wonton soup. I had a Vietnamese summer roll. My mom had vegetable and shrimp pot stickers. I had Thai green curry chicken. She had the seafood sizzler. And then we shared the hibachi salmon. The hibachi salmon was the best thing that we ate. Highly, highly recommend that. And then for dessert, we got the turon and ice cream with fried banana spring roll and the coconut mousse tart. Absolutely delicious. Our server was also great here. He was so very attentive, and that pretty much was the theme throughout South Coast in general, was that the staff was fantastic. We had one staff person our entire trip that we were like, oh, they weren't that great. Everybody else completely blew us out of the water, which we haven't really had a resort where it was like that many that were that great. It was every single person that we interacted with pretty much went above and beyond, which was wonderful to see. Up next, we have Neptunes, which is the Mediterranean restaurant, and it is open for lunch, dinner, and late night. Now, Neptunes is an open air outdoor restaurant that overlooks the water. It's really beautiful. And for lunch, it has sandwiches, salads, that sort of menu. I had a fish sandwich here, which was really solid. We've had Neptunes at a couple of resorts now, and it's always a really solid lunch offering, so no complaints here. We didn't have a chance to eat dinner at Neptunes. I think I've never had dinner at Neptunes. I've always tend to prioritize other restaurants. We only had 4 nights and could only eat at 4 restaurants. Well, we actually ended up at eating at 5 because we had second dinner, which I'll get to. But we didn't get to try the dinner here, and we never tried the late night as well. But Neptunes is open for late night snacks between 10:30 and 5:30 a.m. I wonder who is going at like 5 a.m. for a late night snack, but I'm sure it happens. Because if you haven't noticed up until this point, there is no English pub at this resort, which is typically at a lot of the Sandals. The English pub is where they serve late night snacks. So at Sandals South Coast, Neptunes is where the late night snacks happen. Up next, we have Schooners, which is the seafood restaurant. It is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and reservations are required for dinner. So for breakfast, it is an a la carte menu, very similar to the breakfast menu at Eleanors. Lunch is also an a la carte menu, lots of salads, sandwiches, quesadillas, burgers, some seafood entrees as well. We did eat here for lunch one day. We shared some buffalo chicken wings, which the sauce was absolutely amazing. It wasn't like a traditional buffalo sauce. It was definitely mixed with something else and was super tasty. My mom had a shrimp quesadilla. I had a cheeseburger. It was really good. And the view from that restaurant is gorgeous. It's right by the over the water bungalows and the Latitudes bar. So absolutely beautiful over there. We did not have a chance to eat here for dinner either, just because, again, only here for 4 nights, and there were just lots of amazing places to try for dinner. If you like seafood, this is definitely a place to check out. Up next, we have Sushi on the Sand, which is, of course, a sushi restaurant. So this is open for dinner only, and we came here for second dinner. As if you've watched the channel before, you know we often like to do that. So I'll often go and get it as an appetizer or a late night snack sometimes, just so I can try the sushi restaurant. And we were still hungry one night, so we went around like 9:15 when they closed at 9:30, just to get a little bit of food and just check out the restaurant. And super glad we did, because it was really tasty. I think my mom tried the vegetable tempura and the dragon eel roll. I had the veggie spring roll and the crispy Philly roll. But I also think the best part was the cats. If you've been to a Sandals, you'll know that there are often cats that like roam the resort. And of course, they smell the fish at a sushi restaurant. So it was just like my mom and I at a table. the whole restaurant was like, we were the only ones at the restaurant eating sushi and had some cat friends with us, which we love cats, so was a great night for us. And last but not least, restaurant number 9 is the Jerk Shack, which is an authentic Jamaican restaurant, which is open for lunch only. So we ate here on, I think, our last full day to have lunch on the beach, which I love. We got to look out at the ocean while eating Jamaican jerk chicken, fish and foil, festival, which is a traditional fried dumpling. We also had sweet potato, and then I tried hard dough bread, which is a traditional Jamaican recipe. I think of all the Jerk Shacks I've tried, this one was the best, and my mom said the same thing, especially because of the sauce that they gave us with the jerk chicken. It was like an orange sauce, and it was kind of like almost chunky, and it had a little bit of heat, and it was kind of sweet, but that made the dish. We even like asked for extra. We went through like 2 cups each of this sauce. It was a fantastic lunch. We really enjoyed it. Now, in addition to the 9 restaurants at Sandals South Coast, there's also room service if you're in a club level or butler level room. If you're in a luxury level room, you don't have access to room service, but for club level guests, you'll have access from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And for butler level guests, you'll have access 24/7 to room service. There are also 7 bars at Sandals South Coast, which have varying hours from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. But that is gonna be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on social media at A Couple Travelers. Until next time, keep traveling.